Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Well, from warm and sunny Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, we ask ourselves the question, do we need an acerbic side to atheism?
Is the grumpy side part of the deal?
I'm needed. I need to be here.
Make way for me.
I'm grumpy atheist. I deserve a place at the table, too.
Well, I don't think the question is, do they deserve a place at the table?
Do they serve a purpose?
Yeah,
I have a purpose.
Well, we'll be asking deep and rich questions about these.
Please stop being angry at me. Because I'm angry atheist.
But it's not just about angry atheism. We're asking, is there? Yeah, we'll be exploring some fun topics.
Sure.
You don't sound sold on the idea.
We'll do something.
All right, well, that's it. We're closing this thing down.
Oh, no. Don't say that.
Okay, well, then we'll keep going.
I have something to cheer you up.
You do?
I think I do.
Yay.
So apparently, Pope Francis...
I've heard of him.
Yeah. He keeps opening his mouth. He keeps saying stuff.
Yeah.
And he keeps coming up with stuff that gets people's attention.
Okay.
You know, like
sure.
Normally it's like religious-y stuff and everybody's like, oh, hey, he likes poor people,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
This time he admits that a gay lobby exists inside the Vatican Curia.
Wow.
Yeah.
And by lobby, we're not just talking about a really fabulous decked out atrium.
Well, they have those. They have plenty of those. It is the Vatican. That place, yeah, it's set.
But you're saying that there's a group of people inside the Vatican who are pushing for gay rights.
Yeah, well, you know, the whole VatiLeaks scandal, right?
Yeah.
That happened while Benedict was still in office, I guess is a way to say it. He still was sitting on the Holy See.
The old man in the sea.
Or the Holy, yeah. Anyways. So anyways, that all came out and there was like this, oh, well, you know, we don't know what's really going on. But like, Francis is just like, yeah, it exists. It's
yeah,
there.
They're here.
Yeah, guess what?
Well, you know, you get a big room full of priests, Catholic priests. You're going to have some gays in there.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have mostly gay.
Good chance.
Because what does a gay Catholic do? You either just choose celibacy and not get any, like, kickback from the church about it, or you choose celibacy and you get to be leader.
Yeah. Hey.
I go for that.
Yeah. And you get to hang out with dudes all the time.
Indeed you do.
You know?
Yeah, seminary must be the glory holes that must exist in those seminaries.
Oh, my God. I saw this priest coming back from Europe on my last trip. I was like, sign me up.
Like, ooh, can I confess
Hey,
something to
young
you?
priest. Hey.
I think I need to confess something.
Hey, hottie outdoorsy priest. What you up to?
Do you want to go for a hike?
Yeah. But
Okay.
anyways, yeah, so Francis is fascinating to me. He just keeps doing this shit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to his papacy.
Yeah.
His papism.
Uh-huh.
Because there's more to come. You know that this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
This is just scratching the surface.
I
Later he's going to be like, yeah, my best friends are motorcycle lesbians.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that, you know, just so you know.
Yeah. He's going to be like, yep, Da Vinci Code. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
I don't know who gave Dan Brown access to what, but that guy knows some stuff.
Yep.
We will be learning more. We'll be learning more. Well, I'm going to go to I heart Mike Huckabee. I don't.
Okay.
I don't really heart Mike.
No,
Huckabee.
who could?
Do you remember the movie I Heart Huckabees that came out?
It's a fun movie.
Anyway,
I like that movie.
Mike Huckabee, former governor of what? Arkansas?
Mm-hmm.
He's a peach.
Mm-hmm.
I recently clicked on whenever an ad pops up on my Facebook that's like something Jesus-y, I instantly click it.
Okay.
For two reasons. A, I really actually want to see what they're up to.
Okay.
And B, it costs them a little bit of money, and I'm devilishly... I take
sure.
a small amount of pride, of pleasure in that.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, it was Mike Huckabee presenting his new this isn't the story, by the way. I'm just saying it was him presenting his new Christian animated series about how God plays into American history.
Oh. Oh, really?
Yeah. There's one especially
Is
cute.
God a character? Is he like a little
No,
animated character?
I think it's 4 plucky time traveling teenagers who go around through time and find out about God and how he helped the founding fathers and how they prayed to him and all that sort of.
Oh, here's these people. Here's this guy. He doesn't even believe in God, but God's gonna help him found our country.
Right, exactly. Oh no, he believes in God. Don't kid yourself. According to all of the guys that they hired to be their historians.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Mike Huckabee. So Mike Huckabee is busy producing quality programming.
Oh yeah,
but he still made time to tweet that he thought churches should give up their tax exempt status.
Really?
Yes, it's something that he's pushing now.
Why?
Because
what reason could he possibly give?
They lose their religious freedom. They don't have the freedom to discriminate against all the right people. They don't have the freedom. They don't have the freedom to tell people who to vote for.
Yeah, they're in bed with the devil, basically.
Yeah,
it's wow.
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, baby.
Yeah,
pay up so that you just give it up willingly. So that I have a hunch. There's not a single church that's going to go along with this. I get what he's saying.
I bet a couple do. I bet a couple are like, hell yeah.
You think?
Sure, why not?
Because it costs money.
It does cost money.
A lot. They're getting so much out of it. All of their buildings they don't have to pay taxes on.
Yeah.
All of their pastors aren't paying taxes. It'd be nice.
Paying taxes.
It'd be nice. That's a cushy position to be in. I doubt that anybody's doing it.
So what's his point then?
Well, I don't know. I mean, his point is that, that they're under the thumb of the government. The government...
They are.
He said, quote, "I think we need to recognize that it may be time to quit worrying so much about the tax code and start thinking more about the truth of the living God. And if it means that we give up tax exempt status and tax deductions for charitable contributions, I choose freedom more than I choose a deduction that the government gives me, that the government gives me permission to say what God wants me to say."
Oh, so he's saying that they just need to just ignore, and
he's saying they need to give up tax exempt status and tax deductions for charitable contributions.
He's not saying that they should just say what they want to and let the chips fall where they may.
No, he's saying give up. He's saying if that's the choice, choose to give up the tax exempt status.
Wow. Okay.
Which I think is great. I find myself aligning with Mike Huckabee.
The rare occurrence.
Yeah. There you go. Me and Mike. I'll shake your hand on it, Mike.
Aww. Well, look at you. You have a new friend.
I do, and he's so cute. He's got just a cute little smile. Looks like he might have murdered somebody.
Well, I have a story that's from a similar part of the country.
Oh, do you?
A part that we went through, actually.
Indeed.
Tennessee.
Aha.
And this is closely related to an issue that we kind of were thinking a lot about while in Tennessee, which is the whole Murfreesboro.
The mosque. The Islamic center of Murfreesboro.
Apparently, the good bigots of Tennessee aren't backing down. There was a public meeting on tolerance that turned into a shouting match.
Oh, that's not a good thing.
And so you had Bill Killian, the local U.S. attorney, organized the meeting. He was up talking about hate speech.
Do you get? Oh, okay.
And that it's not protected by the First Amendment. Amendment. And that there are things that you can end up saying that you might get prosecuted.
Could get you
for.
into trouble.
And so the people there started yelling things like "traitor" while he was speaking, and "go home, serpent." He kept going though, even though there were hundreds of people yelling at him.
Well, they don't like tolerance there. They're uncomfortable with this, with tolerance.
They're very uncomfortable with it. Then a Muslim woman got up.
Oh, good Lord!
Oh, she's brave.
Don't get up.
She's brave.
She should. No, she's stupid. She heard what they were yelling, and then she got up.
Yeah, Sabina Moyuden.
No, you just cancel the meeting. At that point, you just okay. I get it. We're going home.
She got up, and she spoke and got heckled, of course.
Yes.
And
she got Huckabee. Hecklebead.
Anyways, she says that that she feels that it was not a pleasant experience.
Oh, there's a shock.
But that actually, this was another woman. I'm sorry. This is Ramizia Suleiman who says this. It was not. If it was to scare us off, if it was to push us away, it actually did the opposite for me.
Oh,
she says. So she feels sort of this, and this is what happens when
call
people
to
get
arms.
into yelling matches.
Yeah,
is both sides end up feeling stronger in their beliefs.
Yeah. We'll have to bring that notion into our later conversation.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, basically, talk about a clarion call.
Yeah.
Talk about a rallying cry.
Yeah.
Everybody in there is going to go back to their own group
and
be like, "You'll never guess what happened at this meeting." And the Muslims are going to be like, "The stupid Christians were yelling at us and being all rude and dicks," and the Christians are going to be like, "Stupid Muslims and attorneys are trying to tell us what we can and can't say."
Damn these rights that give us the right to be here.
You can't take away
what we want to believe.
Look, just because
how dare
somebody
you give
else
the same rights to that woman over there with head thing on?
No, you're trying to take away my rights by giving her rights. I have the right to hate speech if I want it. You can't tell me not to hate speech somebody. I'll hate speech you right up your face.
Yeah, but this is the kind of hate speech that he's talking about here. Is this? I'm sure you might have seen this. I saw it. It was a picture that got posted on Facebook, and it has it's a picture of a man with one eye looking down the sights of a shotgun,
right?
With the caption "How to wink at a Muslim."
Yeah,
it went viral, went everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
cute.
That is hate. That's a
threat.
That's threatening.
Yeah.
If you're a Muslim, that doesn't feel very good.
No. It's probably not.
In fact, it makes you pretty scared.
It's probably not entirely unexpected if you're a Muslim in this country, but it would be terrifying. You don't want, your neighbor posting that.
No.
No,
dear God, no.
I'll tell you how to wink at a Muslim. You lift up your burqa and wink at him.
Yeah.
Or your veil or whatever. Anyway. On to even darker thoughts for now.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks to news. It's not me. Look.
Well, you picked it.
Well, I didn't know I was going to be following all that nonsense. Here we go. Dateline, Virginia. Floyd, Virginia.
Oh, this isn't going to be good.
It's worse than you think. A 30-year-old man named Elder Guzman Rodriguez was
Elder?
Not Mormon elder.
Okay.
Not elder in the sense of he's a missionary, but elder in the sense of that was his name.
Really? I didn't know it was a name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, his name is Elder. He was sentenced Monday in Floyd County after pleading no contest to first-degree murder of his daughter, Jocelyn, who was a toddler that he beat up, and he later claimed that. So what happened was the police showed up at his house. Apparently, the first deputy who arrived saw, quote, several Hispanics holding Bibles and they were standing on the deck of the mobile home. The toddler's body was found on a bed in the master bedroom, wrapped in a blanket without a pulse. There were Bibles everywhere and other religious literature. Mr. Guzman Rodriguez told the police that a bad spirit had entered him. And he said that his daughter was gesturing. He saw his daughter gesturing to him as if she wanted to fight. So he punched her over and over.
Dear God.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's using the old temporarily possessed.
I'd like to plead temporary possession, Your Honor. I would like to plead the devil made me do it.
That's a terrible story, Dan.
Yeah. Don't blame me.
So, okay, where are you going with it? You brought it up.
I'm going with...
Did you bring it up just so I would make a joke about temporarily possessed?
No.
This is my defense, Your Honor.
No. I brought it up because it's another example of, like, if you're allowed to say anything about religion, suddenly, like, anything can happen.
Right.
I mean, the guy's clearly sick, so maybe he would have beat up his toddler daughter anyway.
He would, yeah. Quite possibly he would have found any justification.
Right. So if there were no religion on the planet,
aliens,
who knows what he would have come up with?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that, like, this is what happens. This is where people go. It couldn't have been just that I'm so sick that I killed my own daughter.
Right.
But
this is what mental illness does. It gloms onto sort of the memes, the big ideas of the time, right? And I mean, I'm no mental health expert or anything, but I have a friend who used to work up at the VA and the Veterans Administration Hospital.
Yes, for those of you who aren't Americans,
right? Exactly. And so one of the things and she worked in the psych ward up there, and so one of the things that she saw over and over and over were sort of these same people who were being brought in, again, cleaned up, whatever. But this one guy, I mean, this is Salt Lake City, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, it's going to be, Jesus-y and quite possibly Brigham Young. Okay. So, like, this guy had some weird obsession with the Brigham Young statue downtown.
Oh.
And he had this idea of, and you may want to mute right now because of where this is going. For about 30 seconds. That's all you need to do. He liked to do baptisms by feces and by blood.
At the statue?
At the statue. He would strip down naked and he would cover himself in his own feces and his own blood.
Yeah.
He'd cut himself and then he'd climb up onto the statue. And the last time they found him that she was telling me about, he was up there jerking off.
Yeah, well,
onto the statue.
That's how you finish your baptism.
Right.
If you're Crazy McGee.
But anyways, that's the thing. If you're in a city where the big statue is of Brigham Young, then you get weird and obsessed about Brigham Young.
I thought you were going to say
I
thought you were going to say that he thought that Brigham Young was controlling everybody's mind.
Well, I'm sure that happens too.
Because Brigham Young's sort of holding his hand out over the city like that'd be a funny little short film.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Brigham Young statues controlling everyone's mind.
Yeah. Well, it's very similar to a student film that was made at the EO.
Oh, yeah.
The Attack of the Killer Brine Shrimp. Anyways, it involves that same statue. But anyways, yeah, but so he thinks he's being possessed by some spirit because that's the narrative that he's
I mean, he was clearly raised very religious, probably Catholic, judging by his Hispanic origins.
Racist.
I don't think he was racist. You don't have to assume that. Anyway.
It's a racist assumption, Dan.
Well, he liked them Bibles anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is one of the roads that religion leads one down.
Wow.
Not a common one.
No.
But one of the possible roads.
Almost an unfair thing to say.
Almost, and yet not quite. Bordering on, getting close to, and yet not quite.
All right. Well, I've got a story. This still having to do with those crazy Catholics again, but this time from the Muslim perspective.
Muslims aren't Catholics, Frank.
And that's true, but certain Muslims do like it when they have good relations with the Vatican. I'm speaking of a group in Cairo.
Oh, okay.
At Al Azhar, which is either a mosque or a university. I don't know. The story doesn't tell me. But anyways, an envoy from Al Azhar is sort of they're saying that they are ready to mend these broken ties, because Benedict said all sorts of crap about Islam and the pissed off a bunch of Muslims and whatnot. But what they want first from this Pope is that he needs to declare Islam peaceful. And once he does that, they're willing to work on mending these ties.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Uh-huh.
That's a fun one. By the way, Al Azhar is a university in Cairo
that is connected to a mosque.
All universities in Cairo are probably connected to a mosque.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways,
I'm just saying I looked it up. That's all.
Yeah, and I looked it up too, and that's why I said it's either one or the other.
Right. Okay.
And
so, that's interesting. I wonder if they would afford the same pronouncement to the Christians. If they would say, "Oh, Christianity is a peaceful religion," considering its history.
I don't know.
I think, okay. So, if you're the Pope, Frank, Pope Francis,
okay,
would you be willing to declare Islam peaceful? I mean, we do know that the majority of Muslims don't commit horrible atrocities, but
True.
that doesn't mean that the religion itself is peaceful.
Right. I don't know that it is peaceful, but my guess is that Pope Francis will declare it peaceful.
You think?
I think he will. I think he'll do the diplomatic thing, restore ties, restore dialogue.
Yeah.
And
then again, do you want diplomacy? Do you want to restore ties when the outstretched hand comes with strings attached? To me, that's not really stretching out your hand. When you say, "Hey, I want to restore ties with you," you have to make the first move.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a bullshit move in my book.
Yeah, but isn't that often how diplomacy ends up working?
No, I think diplomacy usually ends up, like, real diplomacy is, I'm going to take the first step here. Real diplomacy is, I'm going to reach out to you with an offer with an olive branch, and then I'm going to hope that you come back to me with an equal olive branch.
And I think that's probably like, textbook perfect world type stuff. But like, I think a lot of times in international relations, it's somebody making a dick move, and then you having to decide how you're going to be.
Right.
And they're making a dick move.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to decide to be diplomatic, truly diplomatic.
Right.
And say, yeah, sure, you're peaceful.
I'm going to say,
by the way, that was a dick move.
Right, exactly. Thanks for the dick move. Let's start from I would probably move the question just a little bit further.
And he might also come up with a very nice way of reaching out that might placate their thing without him having to say the line.
Right.
Because, I mean, I think it is hard to say that Islam is peaceful, and I think it's hard for any observer of Islam to say that it's peaceful.
There are Muslims who are peaceful.
Well, exactly. Right.
So
there are individuals, there are, like you said, the vast majority even,
right,
who are good people, who are upstanding, who are blah, 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 blah. But we know too much about it to say that it's peaceful.
We've reported on polls of Muslims that have shown that a majority think that there's good cause to use, or not good cause, but there's cause to use like suicide bombing in defense of Islam.
Yeah, that's not peaceful.
That's not peaceful.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of peaceful.
And until
Gandhi is peaceful.
Gandhi's peaceful. Gandhi might be one of the rare examples of actual peaceful.
Right.
Yeah.
And showing how effective peaceful can be.
Yeah.
If you've got, if you're strong on it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah. This the dick move. That's what we're going to call that one. I'm reporting a story now, and it's about Kansas schools and an uproar about, or rather a debate about what their curricula will be for public high schools, etc.
Oh, interesting. Okay, this could be interesting.
The Common Core curricula, when there's a public debate in states like Kansas, I get nervous because usually what that means is that, like, Jesus is going to make it back into the world or whatever. This time, the big debates were in the science and English spheres. And so when they got to the science, or rather in math and English spheres.
Okay.
So when they got to the science, they were like, I think we should just leave evolution and climate change in there. And everybody was like, okay.
Really?
So that's that.
Well, do you know what they were arguing about before that?
No, it was the article
What
that
was
I'm reading.
the hot issue in math?
I don't know. I have no idea. To be honest with you, that's not what this article is about. The article is mostly about the fact that they are, and I think that it's newsworthy to say that in Kansas, they're just gonna
be fine with it.
They're just gonna be okay with evolution and climate change being taught in the schools as actual science.
Because they were finally able to get that damned Pythagoras out.
Right. We're not teaching no algebra anymore. I found out that was a Muslim math. We don't do no Muslim math. And we're not going to use Arabic numerals either. We're switching back to good old-fashioned Roman numerals, just like the Lord intended.
Oh, boy. That would be a mess.
It'd be funny, though. A whole group of kids that are off to college with their Roman numeral knowledge.
Mm-hmm. We'd all be able to read copyright dates.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what year that is. You're not tricking anybody.
What Super Bowl is it?
MCM 31 blah 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 blah. Yeah,
I don't think that. Yeah,
DI. Yeah, EIO.
Well, if you'd like to comment on any of this, you can find us on Facebook.com/TGIAtheist. You could like us as well.
Yeah, you can nice. You can do that. So far. And I want to make this clear. No one has reported to us that liking us on Facebook has... Oh, shit. That's a lie. So only one person has reported to us that liking us on Facebook has caused problems with their family.
Oh.
But only one out of all of our likes. So that's a thing you could do. Or you could email us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Yeah.
And so we're going to take a quick little break. This is Texas Governor Rick Perry.
It's a very, very happy little press conference.
Oh, just lovely.
Delightful.
Wonderful.
I realize it's only June and but it's a good June. And the holidays are coming early this year. So particularly for these Koontz cheerleaders and for students across the state of all faiths who want to freely express the simplest of appropriate greetings during holy days. It's a shame that a bill like this one I'm signing today is even required. But I'm proud that we're standing up for religious freedom in the state. Religious freedom does not mean freedom from religion. last October. Matter of fact, in this room, I said that government leaders owe it to the people of all religious faiths, all people who want to project their expressions of faith, to ensure everyone has the right to voice their opinions and worship as they see fit. And I pledge to work during the legislative session to find ways to preserve religious expression, explore ways to protect people of faith. People of faith too often feel they can't express their faith publicly. And if they dare display it, they find themselves under attack from individuals and organizations that have nothing to do with them or their communities, for that matter. With us today are members of the Koontz cheerleading squad who can tell you firsthand how that feels.
Well, okay.
Oh, cute little Rick Perry. little George W. too.
Freedom of religion doesn't mean freedom from religion.
Yeah, he doesn't remember why the founding fathers put that in there.
Wow.
I think he might not have paid attention in school.
I love that people think that somehow, the fight to keep religion out of the public sphere, off of public grounds, is somehow.
Yeah, it's not a fight against religion.
No.
And by the way, any of you guys out there who are trying to make it that fight, who are confusing those two things, be careful about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's not what our fight is about.
Right.
I mean, you may want religion to be gone.
How lovely would that be?
I know I do.
Yeah.
But that's the wrong fight to be fighting.
And yeah, I agree.
The real fight here is just that we keep religion where it belongs.
Exactly. Which is in people's homes and churches and hearts.
Yeah, exactly. And but not in public schools or in courthouses or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just about having a very clear separation
of church and state.
Of church and state.
Yeah.
It's such an easy concept.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, all of you international listeners, I know, we must seem like just such dipshits over here in this country that we haven't worked this out yet. We'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll all sort itself out. We've only been doing it for a couple 100 years. Give us a break.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got some emails to read. First of all, I'm just going to jump in and thank Victor, who bought us drinks. We're still doing the drinks, the donations in the form of drinks and
hotel stays and
a meal.
Yeah,
gases of tank
or tanks of gas.
Yeah, you can do either one of those things. Anyway, if you go to thankgodimatheist.com, you can donate to us in those ways, or you can donate to us in the regular way, which is just to either subscribe, meaning be a monthly donor of a small amount, or you can give us a lump sum donation by clicking the support tab. But yeah, this was Victor. He says, "This is Victor from Puerto Rico. Keep up the good work, you guys. Your podcast is hilarious."
Oh, well, thank you, Victor.
Thanks, Victor. So that's great. We had a cool email from Amanda who says, "First off, I love your show and find you endlessly entertaining." Well, that's just not true. We're not endless. We're only entertaining for an hour and a half a week at most. But thank you for that thought.
Way to quibble, Dan.
Just trying to be accurate, that's all. No, she finds us endlessly entertaining and informative. I was a little suspicious when I saw your show because I've listened to a few other atheist-themed podcasts, and they all seem to be very angry, be the very angry atheists, and no one likes that. But I was not disappointed. I love your senses of humor, and I love it when you are sarcastic because it is so close to how I would deal with it. Though you talk a lot about a lot of sad or upsetting things, you always seem to find some sort of humor in them. She does have one question for us, though.
Okay.
She has a very close friend. I have a very close friend who also happens to be very Catholic. We are both very open to talking about our religion, or for me, the lack thereof. During one of these conversations, the idea of atheists having celebrations of life parties instead of funerals came up. My friend then brought up that she had an atheist aunt who, before her death, decided that she wanted to have a party like this, much to the dismay of her Catholic family. My first reaction to this was good for her. She should get to decide how to deal with her death. But then my friend brought up that this decision on her aunt's part didn't allow their family to grieve in a way that they found appropriate. She told me that there were a few of her family members who didn't come to the party in protest of it. She says, I was just interested in your opinions on the topic, especially in the case of a very religious family. Thanks so much, and she enjoys our shows. Well, thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
it's a fascinating topic.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Here's my reaction.
Okay, dive in.
Because it was a party that she was throwing for herself before her own death. I agree. Good for her.
Okay, but this is
not about a funeral. This is not about.
No, but it was after her death. My sense is that it was.
My friend then brought up that she had an atheist aunt who, before her death, decided that she wanted to have a party like this, much to the dismay of her Catholic. Oh, okay.
Before her death, she decided
to.
After her death, she wanted a celebration of life party rather than a funeral.
Oh, yeah, but still, I mean.
So there's two things at play here. There is the wishes of the dying,
yes, versus
the needs of those who remain afterwards.
Yeah, and then so what I would say to that is actually I think a really good example of this is when our friend Eric passed away. The family had the big Catholic funeral, blah 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 blah. A month later, his friends, who actually had a much better sense of what he would have wanted, had a completely secular and devoid of God memorial.
Right.
And it was lovely.
And party.
To
which his parents showed up.
Yeah, they ended up showing up because they wanted to see and they wanted to hear what everybody had to say. And
right.
But again, that's, I mean, of course his friends couldn't step in and say no to the funeral.
Right.
But it actually ended up being a really nice thing.
And why would you? Why would you step in and say no to a funeral?
I mean, I don't want a Mormon funeral.
Oh, well, no. But here's the thing.
But that's what my family would want.
Yes, and I get that. But here's where I think our thing with Eric was a great idea. And here's where I think society should probably be going, which is not about how you inter the body or what rites and hoodoo you do over the casket. But what we should be talking about is if your parents need a ceremony, a service that's in their language to deal with it, fine. I personally think Mormons have horrible funerals and that they're boring and nobody actually is allowed to grieve.
Right.
But if it floats your boat, if it makes the universe make sense to you, I don't care.
Sure.
Let me tell you something. Having been through some pretty rough grieving, fucking grieve the way you want to grieve.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you need to have a Mormon party or a Catholic service, if you need to sing dirges in the dark, whatever, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I think the idea of multiple things to accommodate multiple people is not a bad idea.
I agree. I think that having multiple is good. But at the same time, and I know that, it's probably the worst time to be asking somebody to be like true and honest is when they're dealing with, somebody who they love passing.
Right.
But at the same time, I do think that how not true to the person are you being? Right. By having something that is just completely, the exact opposite of what they would want.
Right. It's a good question.
You know what I mean? Like, and I know funerals are for the living, but there has to be a part of you somewhere that knows it's wrong to be holding a big Catholic funeral or a boring Mormon funeral or whatever for this person who absolutely didn't believe it and who in no way, shape, or form would have wanted that.
Right. It's why when my father died, invited his bishop, his Mormon bishop, to say a prayer at the beginning of the service, even though me, my mother, my sister, none of us are practicing Mormons.
Right.
But it was a gesture to my dad, who that's what he believed, and that's where he would have what he would have wanted. Now we didn't do a Mormon service,
Right.
but I wanted to throw that out there. Plus, most of his family, a lot of the other people who were attending the funeral, that made sense to them.
Right.
So,
But there were
even though
some
it sticks in my craw.
I forget this detail. Did you have him in his temple clothes before he was?
No, we cremated him. No, we didn't do that.
Okay.
We didn't bother with it.
Okay.
So yeah, there were some things, but my dad wouldn't have cared that much about those things because my dad was pretty pragmatic about that sort of thing.
Right.
It's not like Jesus is not going to let you in because your family didn't put you in the right clothes before they burned you.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's a valid question, and you have to ask. So for Mormons, that can be a big deal.
Right.
Now the guy, the funeral director who was helping us said that that's not necessarily a big deal even in Mormon theology. It's more a cultural thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I just went.
He's good at his job.
Yeah, yeah. He was actually great. He was I really liked him. Anyway, I do think that funerals are for the living.
They are.
And here's the other thing.
But it makes me so uncomfortable, the idea of passing, maybe like if I did pass before my parents.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I hate the idea that they would get to make a lot of decisions like that.
And they would.
But I mean, fortunately, I hope I will outlive them.
Right.
I mean, you can't say.
No, you can't.
But
and the truth is that if you don't, you will not be around to be outraged.
No, I won't. But
the rest of us will.
The thought
know.
of it is I find outraging.
It's galling.
Yeah.
I've often said to my wife Andrea that I think it would almost be pretty funny if someone had a religious funeral for me. I think that'd be because I'm not going to care. So hell, have a Mormon funeral, have a Catholic funeral. It just tickles me right now. I think it's funny.
Okay then. All right.
Well, anyway, thanks Amanda for that. Richard wrote into us because you'll recall that we had we played an audio clip of Brian Fisher talking about how what holds atoms together is clearly Jesus. You remember this?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And he just said he wanted to mention that although it was legitimate to ask why protons stick together in the nucleus and when they are all positive, this isn't an instance of inserting God into the gaps in scientific understanding. The answer is that there's a fundamental force called, quote, strong nuclear force, which sticks protons together, even though their electric charges repel each other. It has a very short range, which is why you only hear about it in particle physics. The strong force overcomes the electric repulsion because it is, strong. And he says this has been known since the 70s, and he was taught it in school when he was 17. Indeed. Although, what's funny is that is that Richard also says, a lot is known about the strong force. It is no more mysterious than a magnet. Well, I got news for you. They're both kind of still mysterious. We know that those forces are there. We still don't know why they work yet. But
it's just like that ICP song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magnets it's a fucking miracle.
It's a fucking Jesus miracle.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But I think we can safely pronounce the strong nuclear force not Jesus. I think that's a safe place to go with that.
Okay.
We've got a couple of people talking about the monument.
Yes.
And we're going to lead into our next discussion from one of these things.
Should I take one of them?
Sure.
Okay, so this is an email from Scott. And he says that he says, I can't say that I agree with your point of view. I think we can agree the best possible solution would be for the Christian right to fold and take the thing down. But in situations like this, it's important to let them know that barring surrender, they will be facing ridicule in the form of mocking retaliation. When Bibles are passed out on high school campuses, we don't pass out pamphlets on Socrates or Kantian philosophy, but instead we inform the children that their God is a lie, or we preach about the flying spaghetti monster. By building a less abrasive, more artistically pleasing fountain-type monument, perhaps with a small placard claiming it for atheism, what message exactly are we sending? 1, we have taste. 2, we are non-confrontational. 3, we have nothing meaningful to say. 4, please feel free to build a giant weeping crucified Christ next to me, as I will only accentuate his beauty. And then he goes on.
I, in this case, referring to the fountain. The fountain is now speaking those.
Right, exactly. They need the fear of God in them. He says that if they trample our constitutional rights, they will pay a consequence. And then I think when you are bemoaning the confrontational aspects of atheism, you're confusing the two faces with which I think atheism must simultaneously wear. The sympathetic outreach face, which you were talking about, is perfectly appropriate when dealing with liberal Christians, agnostics, the apathetic, etc. In that context, friendly conversations, a smile, and a low profile are great. In terms of a legal campaign which is being waged across the country against the fundamentalists, it needs to be a no-holds-barred slash and burn campaign to the death. The mixing of church and state needs to be rooted out. Christian fundamentalism ruthlessly mocked. Indoctrination in the schools needs to be confronted, etc. And then he continues that it's sort of equivalent to the gay rights movement,
or the civil rights movement,
where you need people saying "fuck you," we're doing this.
Yeah.
And he makes the point that that, let's see, it's the uppity folk are the reason for oppressed social groups' progress. And he continues on. Yeah, so I mean that's the gist of it. All the best. Love the show, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for chiming in on that.
So what we got here is a question of. So we should clarify that this email was in reference to our idea about this bench, which was that it shouldn't be full of atheist quotes. It should be a celebration of
church and separation of
church and state and constitutional values.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be a fitting monument that would highlight how inappropriate the other one is.
Right. While at the same time being appropriate.
Exactly.
Yeah. And being an example of, hey, look what an appropriate thing looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah, Scott, I can't go with you on this one. I can't. Here's the thing. I get that there's a fight happening here, but I don't think the fight is religion versus irreligion. It's not atheists versus believers.
Right.
That's not what this fight is. This fight is just for us to all get to the place where we all live comfortably together.
Right.
That's the fight. The fight, and believe me, it's a harder fight than it sounds.
Right.
But the fight is not us versus them.
Well, it's what's interesting is I don't see the atheist fight, as really being that analogous to civil rights or the gay rights movement, because these are groups who are actually, the country is withholding rights from.
Right.
Right. It's not balancing out how our rights all work together, right? How does religious freedom work with freedom of expression and so forth and so on? Right. Like we're trying to navigate and trying to figure out how our rights balance. I don't feel like when there's a monument sitting on a courthouse, lawn,
You're not oppressed by it.
I'm not feeling oppressed. Exactly.
Right. It's wrong.
It's wrong. It shouldn't be there.
And it does. The truth is that as an atheist walking into that courthouse, you're going to feel like this is not a courthouse for me. This is not, there's some, the message is this is for Christians. And, an atheist walking in there and a Muslim walking in there, any of these people walking in there is going to feel like, oh, I may not have a fair shot here. That could be a valid concern when you walk into a courthouse. So I mean, but that doesn't equate to oppression.
I don't think so.
And the other thing is that even if it did, it's such a mild oppression compared to, what these other we have a civil rights issue here, but it's so much milder than the civil rights issues of the 60s and 70s with with race issues and the civil rights issues that we're still working on. I mean, we're still working on the race issues.
Yeah.
But we're still working really hard on the gay issues. Mm-hmm. I just don't think you can equate them. I think that it's very important. I think that our fight is incredibly important. It's crucial that we're clear in this country about the separation of church and state.
Absolutely.
And there are other fights too that we need to be fighting, which are things like, we need to acknowledge science and eschew pseudoscience. We can't equate religion, which is a bunch of unsubstantiated and impossible to substantiate claims, with science.
Right.
We got to make sure that the people who are trying to counterbalance science with religion aren't successful.
Right.
Because they're two totally different things.
Right.
All of these are really important fights.
Right.
But we don't need to be jerks about it.
Right.
And frankly, I think it hurts our cause.
I do too.
When we are angry, not when we're angry, or you're allowed to be angry.
Yeah.
I get angry.
Sure.
But when our response to these things is to scream and shout and call and name call and finger point and say we're better than you are.
Right.
We're not helping our cause at all.
Right.
There's nothing in that helps our cause.
Right.
All we're doing is setting up an us versus them fight. And that's not what this is.
And what's being described here is sort of all-out war.
Yeah.
I mean, no holds barred, slash and burn. I mean,
right.
And Scott, I'm sorry, I don't mean to just...
Yeah, we're not trying to pick on you, Scott.
But...
I hear your point.
But his point is one that's shared by a lot of people. A lot of people feel the way that Scott does.
Well, clearly American Atheists does.
Mm-hmm. Because
they're putting up the monument.
Yeah.
I just think we really need to look at what is the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Is the end goal eradication of religion? Or is the end goal everybody gets to believe whatever they want to, but with correct boundaries in place?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has to be the latter.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to eradicate religion,
good luck.
Well, I say, teach science to your kids.
Yeah, but but that's not going to eradicate religion.
It's not.
But
nothing can.
Teach science as much as you want to your kids. The great lesson that I think everybody should learn should have learned through the ages is, guess what? Your kids aren't going to turn out the way you wanted them to.
Right. Well, that's true.
And so you better just raise your kids, love them, teach them to love other people, teach them the way that you see the world.
Yeah.
And then be perfectly prepared for them to go off and get religion.
Yeah. Because you're not going to be able to fix it.
Yeah.
Just like my parents couldn't keep me in religion, and your parents couldn't keep you in religion.
It's just going to keep going.
It's just going to, because it's human.
Yeah.
That's how we do. We're a nutty species.
Do I think that religion could ever mostly go away? I think it could. I don't think we're anywhere near it. We're not even hundreds of years probably from it. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're a couple hundred years from it being possible.
I think it's closer. I think it's closer than we might know. But here's what I also think. And this is what we alluded to earlier in the podcast today. I think the thing that's going to the effect that Scott is talking about, the fight that he is talking about, the confrontation that he is talking about, all that serves to do is galvanize the religious.
Absolutely.
It gives them a rallying cry. It gives them something to hold on to say, we don't even need to look at our religion and whether or not it's good, or it's right or wrong.
Right.
Because we've got an enemy to fight.
Yeah.
And as soon as they have this rallying cry, as soon as they have an enemy, they just hold on to each other for dear life and start marching.
Mm-hmm.
It's
If you make it us against them, then they'll be against us.
right.
You know, and that's probably a really dumb way of saying it. But
No, that's a smart way of saying it because it's true.
Yeah.
They may still be against us if we're not against them.
right.
But the truth of the matter is that if we're, and this is where I want to transition our conversation to. This is about how do we communicate and what is the goal of our communication.
Right.
And I've been thinking about this a ton since you and I met with Pastor Charles in Waco.
Right.
Outside of Waco at the compound where the Branch Davidians had their showdown, because we tried to talk with that man, and we spent hours. We spent an hour and a half trying to get him to have a conversation, and all he wanted to do was spout his preaching at us.
Right.
So the question is, what are we doing to communicate? And frankly, the other thing is that you and I learned that if we had just heard what he was saying, we could have very easily dismissed him as nutball and just dismissed him entirely. I think that when we are abrasive, when we are confrontational, when we are finger pointing and yelling, it makes us super easy to dismiss.
Right.
We're just, Bill O'Reilly can just write us off in 3.2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
However, if all we're willing to do is have actual discussions, is to be really reasonable and only willing to be reasonable, not willing to point fingers, not willing to be loud and obnoxious, then they have to meet us at the point of reason.
Mm-hmm.
We still fight the fights. We still go to the Supreme Court and say, this is not acceptable. We still do all of that.
We don't roll over.
But we don't. But we do
Being
it.
nice isn't being a pushover.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And it's not even about being nice. It's about insisting on reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's about insisting that this is not, insisting on showing them that this is not about us versus them. This is about just making sure that we have the proper boundaries in place.
Right.
That's all it is. It's not
actually, quite honestly, it's about all of us.
It's about all of us together.
Yeah.
This is about America being the correct America.
Right.
And I think everybody could get behind it if we framed it right.
If you framed it that way. Maybe.
Maybe.
There are people who believe that the correct America is a Christian one.
Well,
And
but the correct America has disagreements.
Right.
And we'll always have disagreements.
Yeah, but I think that a message that a lot of people could get on board with is just that we can that if it doesn't seem like we're fighting against religion, right?
Right.
Then the religious folk won't feel as threatened.
Right.
As threatened. They'll feel threatened because, let's face it, they're insecure in their position and all
Right,
that. But
right.
nonetheless, they won't be quite as defensive.
Exactly.
In my mind.
Exactly.
And so the ability to have a conversation about this is about you being able to be Christian and you being able to be as Christian as you want. But we have to agree that there are certain places, such as the schools, where you can still be Christian, but you can't. But we're not going to have institutional prayer because that's not your church.
Right.
How are we going to pick? How are we going to pick who gets to pray?
And the thing is that if we're yelling at each other as two groups, if we're fighting each other as groups, then neither is going to be willing to listen to the other group.
Right.
Because we have an argument that could very well appeal to these Christians.
Yeah.
We have lots of all you have to say is, really, do you want the Muslims praying in your school? What if you happen to live in the one Muslim county in Tennessee?
Right.
Do you want your kid to be exposed to Muslim prayer every day?
Right.
Well, if not, then you see our point.
Right.
But they're not going to hear that if they think it's just propaganda coming from the enemy.
Right.
The only chance we have at anybody hearing each other And we need to hear their side too.
Right.
Is if it's coming from a place of we need to sort this out.
Yeah.
We're all Americans. We need to just sort it out.
And it's, and that's, yeah. There are a lot of paranoid people in this country, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And I have to tell you, as somebody who has been trying to get roundup interviews for a project that he's working on, there are people who just won't trust you.
Yeah.
There are people who, and the reasons that they won't trust you are ludicrous.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like people get a call from someone in the media and they think that they are talking to a rabid liberal who wants to poke fun and who wants to make them look bad because they're conservative.
Right.
Or religious or whatever. And they just automatically assume it.
Yeah. Well, but when we talked to Pastor Charles in Waco, he assumed that about us.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't just saying we were from the media. We said we were from, thank God I'm atheist.
No, I know.
But a little bit of conversation, and suddenly he was trusting us to the point of like not giving us the key to his church, but telling us where the hidden key was so that we could go into his chapel.
Yeah, I mean, I know that
I'm just saying I'm not saying that would work for everybody.
Right.
I'm not saying I know there are paranoid people who are just going to be paranoid.
Right.
I say let's exclude them from the conversation. You know what I mean? Like, okay, fine. If you're going to be antisocial, if you're not going to be part of the conversation, you don't get to be part of the conversation.
Right, but I'm saying that the paranoia isn't it's a consequence of the divide that exists in our society.
Indeed.
That this is not people who are paranoid, right? Who clinically are paranoid.
Right, or who have some sort of neurosis or something.
These are not people who you would typically say are antisocial. It's that they have this suspicion, this deep-rooted suspicion that how could because like, and I'm honest with people. I'm not, that may be part of the problem sometimes, is that I tell people if they're sort of like being a little, well, blah, 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 and I say, I am a liberal. I do have a lot of liberal views. But I'm not the kind that you think I am.
Yeah.
I'm the kind who's like really, really interested in telling a fair story.
Yeah.
Like I'm like the crazy kind of liberal. I'm not the hippy dippy kind, nor am I like the one who thinks I'm better than you.
Right.
I'm just the one who just thinks differently, and I want to tell your story, whether or not I agree with your story.
Yeah.
Politically.
Yeah.
So,
I think that the approach here needs to be about getting America. All we want is for the rights to be correct. Is for the lines to be drawn in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And that right way serves everybody if we can demonstrate that.
Right.
But we can't demonstrate it if everybody is fighting.
Right.
There's no room for that. Soldiers don't have ears.
So here's, yeah, that's true. Let's go through, let's think about some pros of being more of the angry kind of atheist. And honestly think of them.
Well, here's the deal. I definitely think that in the 60s, there needed to be some fighting. Mm-hmm. Some physical, the country needed to see that it was so bad that people were turning water hoses on peaceful people marching.
Right.
I think that was vital. I would point out that the most compelling images of the civil rights movement were the one side being violent against another side that was not being violent.
Exactly.
Those are the most compelling images. Those were the strongest messages. Mm-hmm. It was not the black people fighting, although that happened and it probably needed to happen.
Yeah.
But the compelling images, the images that swayed our country the most, were the ones of peaceful people doing something that they knew was controversial and that they knew was going to be a problem for people and that they knew they were putting themselves in danger for, and letting the consequences fall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean that that was the only thing that made the civil rights movement successful, and it was largely successful.
Right.
But so I don't know. I mean, there are times when you need to fight. I'm just wondering. I mean, but
what? I mean, because I think, okay, so one of the pros is, and I do agree with the American atheists and their assertion about getting press. They get press for it.
Yes, they do.
That is a fact. They do get press for it.
But I got to say,
I
got to say that any atheist monument going onto a site, or any monument presented by a group of atheists in response to another a Ten Commandments monument, is going to get the press. Yeah. It doesn't matter what's on it. It's just going to get press. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, in this particular moment, that's a thing. Now, not every atheist billboard gets press.
No, that's true.
So there's that.
It gets attention. It gets people's attention.
Yeah, and I think, but I think that so I think that press is important. Mm-hmm. I think getting the message out there is important. But what message is getting out there is equally important.
Right.
What the message is that's conveyed is just as important as getting the message out. Because if the message that gets out is, we're here for a fight and we're fixing to fight you, then that's what they're going to hear. They're not going to hear why we're here for a fight and that fight is just and good. Mm-hmm. All they're going to hear is, we're your enemy now. Let's do this.
What about the assertion that I've heard before, especially amongst the gay community, that sort of the more radical side makes the moderates seem nicer and easier to talk to?
No, the radical side just makes everybody want to dismiss the entire movement. That's my thinking. I believe, and we've encountered it. You walk up, anytime any of you, and be honest, if you've walked up to somebody and said that you're an atheist and they dismiss you, there's no conversation that happens. If they think you're their enemy, they're not going to want to talk to you about it. Doesn't matter how nice you are. You're already out of the conversation. Because the conversation has been framed in the us versus them mode. They might yell at you, but they're not going to want to hear what you have to say. Don't you think?
Well, I think sometimes it is an accurate statement. I know that here in Salt Lake, when I know that certain sort of ad hoc groups, when they got a little bit more sort of not militant, but just a little bit nastier. Mm-hmm. And again, this doesn't work for the people who, sorry folks, if you're not local, you're not going to get it. But it doesn't work for like your Chris Butters of the world. Mm. You're just nitwit legislators who are they're just going to see it the way they see it, and that's that. They're right. Like, it'll never work for certain people.
But I know that it works on both sides of the aisle.
I know that it ended up working for the LDS Church. That they had nice, friendly people to talk to, and there were angrier other people. Like I think that certain people ended up looking a lot more reasonable and a lot more like, well, okay, none of these people are going to shut up. Who are we going to talk to?
Right.
And then the nice ones got in the door.
Okay. That's a strategy. I got to think that. See, here's the thing. In Scott's email, he says that our proposed monument would have the effect of sending the message that we are non-confrontational and we have nothing meaningful to say. I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that I'm non-confrontational. I'm actually quite confrontational in the sense that I'm willing to confront these issues. I'm not confrontational in the sense that I'm against other humans.
Right.
I just think that this is a hugely important fight a hugely important concept that we need to wrap our heads around collectively.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is not non-confrontational. I don't know. I don't know if there's I think people are mad.
Mm-hmm.
and hurt. You know what I think? I think people are hurt and sad. And I think anger is usually hurt and sad, sort of taking an aggressive form. And so I guess my sense is showing the hurt, showing people that their actions have hurt you is more effective than showing them that you're mad about it.
And this is where it gets difficult and a little. This is where this is a good point, good place to contrast us, the atheist movement, against any of the civil rights movements, because it's so easy to see how people are hurt when it is truly something like the gay rights movement or the civil rights movement.
When people are being dragged behind a truck on a chain.
Yeah, well, it's clear. It's clear what they're being denied.
Right.
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 Whereas when it is us, like, how do you show an atheist hurt?
It's tougher.
You know, your average atheist. How are we being hurt by the Christians?
It's a longer conversation.
Yeah,
it's a trickier conversation.
Yeah,
but like I said, what we do is we demonstrate that it hurts all of us not to have a good separation of church and state.
Or it could potentially hurt you.
Yeah, show the Christians how they could be hurt by this. That's a great way to start.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hurt by this, and let me show you why. And let me just put you. Why don't you put yourself in my place, or or let me give you a demonstration of what could happen to you,
right? And
see how it makes you feel,
right?
Empathy is going to be what wins this battle. Empathy is what's winning the battle in all of these things. Eventually, you have to get to the point where the other side is empathetic to your cause,
right?
The effective things that are happening now that's turning the tide for the gay movement is that everybody's finally learning that they've got an uncle or a nephew or a niece who's gay.
Right.
Someone that they love is saying, hey, by the way, I'm this thing that you hate.
Right.
Look at me, look into my eyes, and tell me that you hate me the way you've said you hate these other people.
Right.
Or understand how your, not even hatred, but how your denial of rights to gays affects me.
Right.
And as soon as they have to do that, hearts melt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it works.
And so ultimately, I mean, is that the silver bullet for the atheist movement?
Coming out? Maybe, partly. I mean, certainly atheists are greater in number than gays.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It seems like that's got to be a part of it. I mean, we're a ways behind the gay movement in terms of coming out.
Yeah.
So
and people understanding why it's important, and
right.
people feeling like there's a community that's waiting for them. I mean, personally, I think the strongest thing that we could be doing right now, more so than just about anything else, would be to build our community, and to push the message of coming out. Pure and simple. I mean, those two things seem to me, because again, the sheer volume, the sheer numbers of people,
right. And standing behind each other when we do come out.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Right. Well, if there's community waiting for you, a community that you want to belong to. And I think that's the point, is as we look at this sort of angry thing, unless you're right there with them, and we keep hearing from so many people that they're not, it's such a disproportion. Now, of course, there are listeners, so, birds of a feather, right?
Yeah.
But I really just think that there are so many people who are sitting out there who are not coming out because of who they don't want to be associated with.
True.
That's why they're not coming out, is because of the angry bullshit.
Right.
Because of bullshit monuments.
Exactly. And the only way that we don't...
a bullshit monument.
The only way that we know how many atheists there are is not from a visceral sense of it. Is not from meeting all of our atheist neighbors.
No.
The way that we know is from anonymous
polling.
Polling.
That's it.
until there's a face to this.
We don't have you're right. There is no sense of our numbers.
Right. There's no visceral sense of it at all.
No.
There's nobody. Yeah, you don't get that feeling. Now, you and I you're wearing a Montgomery Area Free Thought Association T-shirt as we speak. We are in the privileged position of having been able to meet a whole lot of really cool atheists all over the country.
Yeah.
But that's not everybody.
No.
And people don't know that there's a happy, healthy group of people out there waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And frankly, until we have community, we won't be able to win this fight.
No, I agree.
We won't.
Yeah.
Because all that will be happening is it'll be this fringe group of people screaming and shouting.
It'll be just lawsuit after lawsuit after
Right.
lawsuit with apparently settlements.
Right.
When you figure out that you're not going to win.
So
that lead to whatever.
So
right?
until America sees that their friends, their neighbors, their coworkers are largely atheist, are 20%, 1 in 5 of their friends and neighbors doesn't believe in God, and they're still good people.
Is a non.
Is a nun.
Yeah.
Is a nun.
A nun. Yeah.
Doesn't have a religion.
Right.
Until they have a sense of that, a real sense of that, we're going to be way too easy to dismiss.
Yeah.
As just screaming and shouting people.
Yeah.
And until we come up with our own we don't have a universal identity because, as we know, atheism isn't,
and nor would we want one.
No, we need to be a large and diverse group because that's what we are.
Right.
Because that's honesty. But until we can say, it's safe to come on out, until we can be integrated into society and everyone knows that we're there and who we are, it's just going to be an uphill battle.
Yep.
So, but we still got to fight it. We still got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. I think that's our goal. That should be the goal for right now, because it's not like nobody's dying in this thing.
No,
nobody's
being denied a vote. Nobody's being denied marriage. Nobody's being like it's hard to figure out. Really, I mean, kids are being denied.
We're an atheist podcast, and we are now able to be accused of trivializing our own thing.
Here are the situations. There are atheist, non-believer kids who are in schools where there are prayers going on.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
That does suck.
There are religious pressures on these kids.
Yep.
There are people who are unable to, feel safe in their employment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There are people who feel like if they're
open about who they are,
they will not be able to rise up in their company. They will not. They will lose out on a lot of things. We've heard from multiple listeners.
Right.
Who and there are people who
and that's something that is something that we shouldn't be feeling.
Right. These are hurts that our community takes.
Right. Exactly. And
that's valid.
And maybe our challenge here is to actually start to identify, real world situations that atheists where atheists do feel.
Right.
The marginalized, that the larger oppressed a little.
Mm-hmm. We're definitely, it's definitely an oppressed and marginalized group.
So
just not in the same way.
We need to articulate what those things are.
True.
Right. And I don't know that lawsuits are connecting with the public in the way that you would want them to.
Right. Lawsuits are great because we do need to,
we have to be fighting these
because
things.
Eventually this is about laws.
Exactly.
At the end goal about this is about laws, and so it would seem like the best place to fight this battle is in the courtroom, but it's not until we have an understanding.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's not a good place to be fighting it.
I
think it's an important place to be fighting it, but it also needs to be fought out in the public.
Correct.
And it needs to be fought with sort of building a sense of who atheists are.
Yep.
And what our contribution is in this country and why we're good neighbors.
Yeah.
Why you want an atheist on your block.
Yeah. And the fact that we're not, we're not amoral baby eaters who are going to go burn down your church.
Right. It's like the last thing we would probably go do.
Well, there are some out there who might burn
Baby
down
eaters?
No, probably not that.
Because the opportunity to be honest, just doesn't present itself very often.
To eat a baby?
To eat a baby.
It's just, when you get, it's tough. It's tough to even find a baby that you could eat, that you could get away with.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You have to be able to get away with it. How do you get away with eating a baby? I think it would be that'd be a hard thing to do.
It would be tough.
Eat a baby? Oh my God.
It's not even worth it. It's not even worth trying.
No, it is worth it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having the discussion.
Oh my God, we're in so much trouble now. Okay. Well, I think we've beat this horse to death.
And rambled.
But, it's so vital. We got to figure out what we're doing here. We've got a movement.
Who? You and me?
No, we. The larger we.
Capital we?
You, me, and Scott.
Okay.
And Dave Silverman.
Yeah.
And everybody. We all need to figure out what the hell the goal is here and figure out the best way to achieve it. And
I think they have a goal, and I think they've figured it out.
Who, American Atheists?
Yeah.
What's their goal?
Their goal is to be litigious and to get press.
Yeah, but what's their end? To what end?
They have identified their goal, and it is to get the message out to the closet atheists, that there are other atheists out there. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
It's just that we disagree with their methodology.
Right.
We disagree that that's actually the message that most of the people want to hear.
Right.
They've heard back from a lot of people who are sort of like-minded.
Yeah.
That it works for them. And so you kind of have to say, well, if they are reaching some people, how bad is it?
Right. And that's true. Maybe if they're reaching,
we have to have a multi-pronged approach here.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
they are working for the right goal. I think they have identified it.
I think so too. I mean, I think that most of their goals are laudable and are the same goals that we have.
Right.
And if their methodology works for them, that's great.
Right. The problem is it doesn't work for me. And it doesn't work for a lot of other atheists.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's the difficulty. That trying to figure that out is what's going to be the real challenge.
Yeah. We got to have a lot of voices in this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. But I hope that, people who are supporters of American Atheists who listen to us and anybody who's involved with American Atheists who might listen to us, I hope you don't think that we just hate American Atheists as an organization.
No.
I like what they're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of it, not all of it. I don't think they have a lot of design sense.
Yeah. That's true. They don't.
But somehow they were able to convince these people that they should be able to put up a monument. And I think that's pretty amazing when you think about it.
And they're going to pay for the monument.
And they're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
I just don't like the monument that they're putting. So you see where I'm trying to sit right here is it's just like, okay, they're doing work. They're working hard. Let's you and I, Dan, you and me, try to get a discussion going that, with us and our listeners that hopefully can help sway what they're doing. But they've got resources. Yeah. They know how to
But it's not just them too. It's if the rest of us are going to do other work, what's the other work that can be done concurrently?
True. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. We got this is not we did not settle this issue.
No.
This is not a settled thing.
Well, we weren't really setting out to.
No.
But anyways.
But the conversation is still going. Ongoing and continuing conversation.
Let us know what you think, people.
Yeah,
let us know,
in.
Seriously. Because, if we start only hearing from people who are, angry,
well,
then we're going to have to...
It was great hearing from Scott.
It was great. No. But if that's the perspective that we start hearing in large amounts, then maybe we need to, maybe we're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm
open to that. I'm open to hearing convincing reasons why we're not why we're not right.
Right.
That's great.
And so I want to hear from people, but if you agree with us, I also want to hear from you too.
Yeah.
That's nice. That feels good.
Well, it's not just about feeling good. It's about the conversation continuing. So maybe you have something to add.
I'm here to feel good.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And you can send me one of those nice messages at facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Right? Or you can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Love to hear from you.
Remember, we do have videos on YouTube. You can subscribe there, and then whenever we post anything, you'll just know about it.
Yeah. You can donate at thankgodimatheist.com.
And we'd like to send out thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music.
And thanks to Sarah the intern.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yep. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.